you might have noticed I'm a bit paler than usual. No, I'm not a vampire. More like I get the vampire as Postmates. I'm just doing the bare minimum to get across my debilitating, constantly editing YouTube videos instead of touching grass. What's even more of a hurdle? Overcoming xeroderma pigmentosum. Step out of the sun because you will get burned. I imagine that is very unpleasant. This genetic mutation is a hypersensitivity to sun and sunlight. Even the smallest exposure to sunlight can cause dry skin, sunburn, blistering, and almost a certainty for skin cancer. This is a very basic understanding, and I have done the research to say it's not a one-size-fits-all diagnosis. Some people, it could be burned in only 5 minutes. Others can actually suntan and have more like freckles. Some can be affected by light through the windows or other UV lights indoors. Some people can dress like the Invisible Man, or while others need this beekeeper suit. Very common to have cancer by age 10. Some live to their 40s, and I believe even if you lock yourself in a dungeon, some symptoms are nerve damage and cancer might still occur. But Dr. K is a knockoff soda brand, so I am going to not harp on the medical accuracies of these works of fiction. So let's talk about the 2006 Japanese romance movie Taiyo no Uta, or Song to the Sun, and the American bastardization, I mean the remake, Midnight Sun. You'll never guess which one I like better. I will tell you one thing, the difference is night and day. I think the major difference between the two takes on the same tale is apparent right out of the gate. Song to the Sun opens with an emphasis on voyeurism, settling you into this perspective of Kaoru watching from the inside looking out, seeing the world at a distance and conveying the unique fascination of the normality of an afternoon. It's 8 minutes before we even get a line of dialogue. We don't even know about XP or the character's name, but we get this profound understanding through this somber introduction of watching the world go by. I could understand if you say, hey, that's kind of slow and boring to start with essentially a bunch of B-roll. On the other hand, Midnight Sun heard you, and they're cramming as much bullshit as they possibly can before the opening title. I understand that XP is not common nomenclature. I get that. Having the word flash on the screen and having Bella Thorne spell it out for you is kind of hackney. But to follow that up with a scene where Rob Riggle also explains it in layman's terms, why? The question of content begins to pile up because they do something which I consider, if this is in your script, you're a bad writer, and I'm sorry, but I'm done with it. And that is introducing your character as having a dead mom. Obviously there's stories where that's a major aspect, but too many times when you're a terrible writer and you need to make a character sympathetic, just kill their mom. Because obviously the girl who is allergic to sunlight doesn't naturally garner enough sympathy. Then apparently in their notes to fix from Song to the Sun, they wanted to explain the friend. You see, in the original, when they introduced that she had a friend, I kind of went, yeah, hey, that's cool. But how did they meet? I don't care. Apparently Midnight Sun remedies that lore plot hole by having a random girl just knock on their door and say, what's wrong with her? She just invites herself over for some pizza. At some point you have to realize that quirky is a negative. We're just normal men. We're just innocent men. Don't invite yourself for pizza. That's rude, in fact. Not only that, but we do this awful joke twice. The guy, she likes skateboards, so he skates on by, and then when the tree cuts him off, she goes, stupid tree. And then when he's in high school, he also rides the same skateboard, and she goes, stupid tree. And it hasn't even been 4 minutes yet. Let's return to the dead mom for a second. I can understand the decision, as the father, Rob Riggle, is a more prominent character. Does giving the father a more in-depth relationship add more positives to the remake? Let's ask him. Rob Riggle. Don't Von Trott me, Mr. Riggle. Hold on a second, he's phoning it in.
You look just like your mother. Lucky you, she was hot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate Riggle, and I commend him for trying to bring levity and heart to this, but it also feels like a Sunday football sketch.
Thanks for your support. Paula, straight up now tell me, do you like the Steelers and Bears? Because those are my picks.
No.
You bet, Paula. And if you act now, we've got a special offer.
Rigo's presence just feels inappropriate, whether it's calling his daughter hot or trying to come across as the cool dad. He's just in the wrong movie. That's kind of where this movie falters, is that it's not trying to be a song to the sun. It's trying to be Fault in Our Stars. It's trying to be Duff or Kissing Booth or all these cut from the same cloth rom-coms, but it's a cheap imitator of even those. Dare I say it? I feel like the Wattpad movies have a little bit more going for them. At least those are misguided and not hollow. So it's common in these types of stories that we now have to have a meet cute. For starters, it is interesting to compare how Song to the Sun seems to emphasize how lonely and isolating the nightlife is. There's, the police officers who explain that they know her as she's always past curfew. There's a random street performer who steals her spot at one point. But besides that, it's really empty and barren. Contrast this with the crowds of 40 people every time Bella Thorne goes out. Goes to a party, plays in front of huge crowds. It's just kind of a normal life, I guess. Song makes an emphasis with its meet cute that Kaoru is maybe lacking some social skills.
Kaoru です。
何？
天音カオルです。
え？
天音カオルです。
何が
16歳です。両親と暮らしてます。趣味は音楽です。性格はちょっと短気です。彼氏はいません。
え？
Oh my god, what a psycho. But unique and cute. I hate to say it, but this would probably work for me. Cute girl just kind of shoves you to the ground and says, here's my name and I don't have a boyfriend. And I would probably say, what a cute and charming person. But then not take the hint at all because there's a lot of interesting people out at night. Oh man, I'm clueless. If there's anything to not like about Song to the Sun, it's that it's incredibly schmaltzy. I found it endearing, and I think a lot of that has to do with the charming nature of their incredible actress with a great voice that sounds vaguely familiar. What this meet cute is missing is a corporate sponsor. Then we get some of the worst dialogue you could imagine.
I have to get home to my cat.
Cat.
Yeah, it died.
So you're not in a rush then, right?
No, I am. I have to plan the funeral for my dead cat that died. Yeah, it's super dead.
I just like the one IMDb review that called Patrick Schwarzenegger a piece of furniture, and I've never seen this degree of someone overact and someone underact their performances at the same time. He might as well be reading off the script and she might as well just be completely ad-libbing. At least it would be slightly more natural. Or maybe that's what's happening, I don't even know. I get it, I know talking to someone you like is awkward. I think this scene did a good reversal of having the guy introduce himself to her and catch her off guard. The original reminds me a bit of a Your Lie in April in that it's less a character study on this character overcoming their condition, but more their passion for music uplifting those around her. Midnight Sun, in theory, does focus more on the character study, giving us a chance to overcome Katie Price's shyness. Midnight Sun is all about fighting for that normal life and accepting life for what it is. Song to the Sun asserts that Kaoru is already normal. She's perfectly fine, and using music and people to inspire you to continue to live. Midnight Sun will fill that runtime with every teen drama cliche. Being friends with the losers, going to a popular party, searching up things on Google, PG-13 skinny dipping. Both takes on this tale kind of fail in opposite directions. There's constant scenes in Midnight Sun, but nothing really happens in these scenes to either be fun moments or too impactful to the story. On the other hand, Song of the Sun is very meandering and absorbed in the atmosphere. It's almost hard to recount everything that happened. Rob Riggle has this whole arc where he's trying to get funding for a cure, and then that goes nowhere and he's frustrated and he can't really do anything but support his daughter. Song of the Sun, they visit a clinic, they ask about a cure, and the doctor says no, that doesn't really exist. And then they show someone with burns and nerve damage to kind of foreshadow the symptoms and display the stakes, and that's kind of it for the scene. The friend goes and films the guy at school so Kaoru can see him more in his natural habitat, and there's a lot more musical performances. That makes sense because let's get into the music. Kaoru has an incredible voice that I would be surprised if this actress has not ended up doing any anime music. And I know that's a bold thing to I felt like I'm just like making that inference as being like, oh, she's talented, maybe she's been on something. I'm just, there's a billion anime out there. She has a lovely voice. She was very young. I would be very surprised if she didn't end up on something. And then I looked at the IMDb and oh, boy, do I feel stupid. Because would you look at that, it's Yui. Not that one. So if you've watched this little obscure anime, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, this is the face to one of the most popular anime openings of all time. This music in this film is very uplifting, kind of that like anthem music. Musically, I'm not really literate, but I'd compare it to like a Kelly Clarkson kind of vibe. Midnight Sun is in one ear, out the other. I always feel bad for Bella Thorne being a Disney kid and not having that successful music career, being second banana to Zendaya, while being known as the celebrity that ruined OnlyFans. I don't think it's her fault. They're asking her to act while performing, so she's more casual in a lot of her performances, and I don't think most are ADR afterwards, and she didn't write it. She didn't compose this. I wish I could stand on a star. I wish I could be where you are. They say, don't you ever give up. It's so hard to be something when you're not. But I have walked alone with the stars in the moonlit night. I have walked alone, no one by my side. Now I walk with you, with my head held high in the darkest sky. I feel so alive. Doing my research, this was a composer debut, so just overly simplistic and lyrically and musically or performance-wise, has no identity really. Sounds like something that would play in a department store, some Kohl's Cash House music. Let's compare the first real date. There's a rando in her spot, so buddy guy wanting to find her a new spot, they go into the city in a spontaneous decision. We have a song. She actually gets to perform in front of a crowd because she's in the city. They ride on his moped back towards home. They go to the beach and have a conversation about being ordinary, and they officially become boyfriend and girlfriend. She recognizes how close they are to sunrise and tries to make it in a desperate race against the clock. He's a little confused, but eventually does help her get home, and they use slow motion to sort of show the sun exposure, make a tense scene. Midnight Sun, not their first date, and he surprises her with a random train ticket, and she's perfectly okay with that. Doesn't explain where they're going, doesn't, like, I would have a panic attack if someone was like, we're going on a train, we're just going to Seattle, and he has to convince her to perform, like, pulling teeth.
You owe me a song.
I can't do it.
Yes, you.
Bella Thorne performs a terrible song, and he also pressures her into pursuing music. She eggs him on to go PG-13 skinny dipping. Apparently in the original, losing track of time is a plot hole. They make it so that she swims with her watch on, and finds out that her non-digital watch isn't waterproof. A cheap-ass watch. They make it an intense scene, the sun is clearly out, and they have to have the most dramatic lens flares known to man. They're speeding down the roads, and she's having a panic attack. Not as realistic as Also kind of silly that Rob Riggle and the friend just kind of appear. They appear in song 2, but it's a little bit more blocked out. Interestingly enough, this exposure has different effects on both films. Song to the Sun, it's played off as a close call that can be interpreted as potentially being the catalyst of Kaoru's later nerve damage, losing feeling in her hand and making her lose the ability to play guitar. Midnight Sun does the exact opposite and directly claims the exposure caused her nerve damage. This has caused some people to criticize the inaccurate portrayal of the movie. I will not be addressing much of that, but I think song acknowledges it's the real condition, but is using it as a fictional story element. Midnight Sun goes out of its way to clearly define it and puts a statement in the end credits. I think it's trying to be a more authentic and earnest portrayal, and that's why it's a failure to be that to some is what is frustrating. Or maybe Western audiences just like complaining more. I mean, I'm guilty of that. I think this is where my praise for Midnight Sun comes in, even if it's more in theory. Song is fine. I believe it's the, Fault in Our Stars that the characters just have cancer. It is about that, but it's not trying to teach or lecture its audience. Midnight is trying to make it not just any illness, but specifically the experience of XP. I do think Midnight is a better structured story with easier to identify cause and effect as well. I guess there is more distress and urgency in Midnight Sun. Song to the Sun can never shed the sort of poetic presentation that can be a little too schmaltzy. The ending of the films are pretty much the same but different in some ways as well. Song to the Sun gives most of the final act an emphasis the importance of Koji. In a sort of Gift of the Magi scenario, Koji sells his surfboard and he cleans all the boats on the dock. This is so he can give Kaoru a chance to record her song for posterity and to sing again. This grand gesture is enough for Kaoru to assert that even if she can't play guitar, she can and will sing. There's really just an emphasis on music and how everyone comes together and supports Kaoru and what that means to them. She goes out in the beekeeper suit to watch Koji surf during the day, now bound to a wheelchair. Her dad encourages her to just run around without the suit, feeling the futility and inevitability of their circumstances. However, Kaoru affirms her desire to live, making the most of what life she has left, and I think we all know what that flag means. It's somber and quiet with great cinematography to show both the beauty and melancholy of death. However, they will always have that song to remember her by, and it even gets played on the radio. They really let the visuals and song tell the story, as there's no more dialogue, and even book ends with looking out the window. I can understand that it's a little too sunny of a tale and can feel like a musical promotional piece rather than a hard character introspection, but it was delightful. It was a feel-good movie and it delivered on making me feel good. It's a perfect 7 out of 10. I was impressed, but did find it more passable than excellent. Midnight Sun ends. Boy, I hope so. Bella Thorne makes Rob Riggle a dating profile so he can move on after her inevitable death, and it's about as stupid of a scene as you can imagine. Pick a random lady, take her out, and now we can order Chinese food. I'm sorry, but I WebMDB your condition. I know what you're going through. I don't know, man. Maybe don't say that. Wait, she's at his swim meet? I know that's indoors, but is that at night? I guess she's wearing a hoodie. Oh, so they've just given up at this point, or maybe she always could have gone out with the minimal protection route. I don't. Who cares at this point? Then they go to the recording booth, compelled by the power of what happened in the original. Again, she hates this idea of this, and he has to steal her notebook and tell her just to sing because Katie Price can't have any agency in her own movie. Actually, does she make a single decision that impacts the movie, or does she just do what this guy tells her to do? Now that's a big bang those tinted windows are gonna save you from. Bazinga. Also, yeah, they just give up and she just fully goes out in the sunlight. They make sure they get the most intense sun and the lens shots just so it looks washed out. Fade to white, and after the fast track to death, everyone is sad. They dump her ashes in the ocean, and is that even legal? Her shitty song ends up on the radio, and Rob Riggle celebrates like his team just scored a touchdown. I have walked alone. Yeah! She writes a sentimental note in her songbook because indie rom-coms just can't help themselves when it comes to narration. Midnight Sun is just so artificial that it's hard to get invested. It kind of reminds me of the Dear Heaven Hansen movie. Production is polished to a degree, but it just rips any soul or heart or identity out of the movie. Plastic coating throughout the movie with actors acting at each other. With a script that's formulated how to be funny and serious and uplifting, but down to earth but marketable. It's a product that seems to invest with what the audience will think of it without really creating something and giving something a voice in its own likes to stand on. I'm in the 4 out of 10 camp, but I can understand as something that fills the Wattpad desire for romantic ideas, and is a new flavor of fanfic. This could be for you, not for me, but all of the people are fans and I respect that, but maybe give Song of the Sun a chance. Maybe when you do, I will see you at the movies. Oh man, it's time for the cringe outro. Dear YouTube viewer, I've been way too out of touch. Things have been crazy, and I know it sucks we don't talk that much. I'll take your suggestions, I will ask more questions. I'll turn it around, wait and see. Cause this video is a little reinvention. So if you like this one, you should give it some attention. Like, comment, subscribe. Let's keep this channel nice and alive. Sincerely, K. Never doing that again. Alright, later folks. See you at the movies.